landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate but create. You are landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate, but create. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the pose. Don't hate, but create.
Hello guys, I'm back. We had a technical problem like 40 minutes ago. The power was off. 1,400 houses here without power for about 40 minutes, including mine, and well, shit happens. So the live streaming was interrupted because of the issue. I lost my Wi-Fi, so I could only use my cell phone. So I'm gonna resume the previous live. Maybe we're losing a little bit of momentum, but what can we do? Out of our control, guys. So Carol is here. Hello, Carol. Happy to have you here. Finn, what's up, man? Yeah, the power is back. So we were playing. Let me just close here we were playing a video that Farmer did about the Dandelion case. I think it's a good. But as I was telling you before, he's very critic to law enforcement about this specific, but about a lot of things, but especially about this specific situation, the lost tip scenario narrative. And he did a very interesting deep dive about it. So that's the video I was playing before the interruption. Just to say, I wanted to say something else, but I forgot. Yeah, I had also a shutdown in my brain. So yeah, the idea is that, in my opinion, a lot of questions that we still have here in this case, the answer can be found, or the answer is hidden in that lost tip narrative. So I don't want to go with too much protocol, guys. I'm going to play the video that we were playing. So did another boo-boo here. Sorry for that. And yeah, I'm gonna play it again right now. And I'm gonna stop from time to time to talk to you guys.
Say, well, it's probably because he's not used to having to, he's just used to, fixing up a wounded bird. Lieutenant Daniel Doolin of the Department of Natural Resources was fully trained like every other cop, and they tasked him, and I say they, the Indiana State Police, tasked him to follow up on leads on February 13th, 2017. He got that lead on the 16th. He waited 2 days to even bother to follow up on it. From somebody who self-reported being there at the time of a murder? Guys, this gets deeper and deeper, guys. Now, you can see what's here in the paper now. I ain't making this shit up. Doolin testified that he interviewed Allen in the parking lot of a grocery store after unsuccessful attempts to meet him at his home or at Delphi Police Headquarters. Because why? You couldn't find Whiteman Drive? Would you accidentally go to Allen Drive, thinking that was his street name? Guys, that's bullshit. First of all, someone that is admitting they were there at the time of this heinous crime, I haven't looked at the comments in a second because I'm on this other screen trying to scroll through and give you guys the proper information, but I will get back to them and go back and read and engage with you guys on any comments that you may have. I'm just trying to get this out in case Junior wants to go to bed before like midnight. Sorry. Okay. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah, that's where I was. Meeting Doolin at the grocery store. So Doolin, again, different sources make it sound like the information came down in different ways. No one is clear on this, and I'll tell you what I mean. In some sources, you will say, Doolin contacted Richard Allen and asked him, could he come to his house or meet him at the police station? And he denied that, said no. Now, just on record, Richard Allen denied that statement in court or officially. He said he never said that, just so you know. I caught that in one of these articles. Now, but then they compromised at a grocery store? I guess Doolin testified that we'll just read through it and then I'll comment. Doolin testified he interviewed Allen in the parking lot of a grocery store after unsuccessful attempts to meet him at his home or Delphi Police Headquarters. I don't see how that's possible, but moving on. The conservation officer said, right now, Fox 59 is cutting Dan Doolin a break by calling him a mere conservation officer. Totally different requirements than what a lieutenant of the Department of Natural Resources has. You guys need to remember that. I think you need to remember it. I remember it. You don't have to. I find it just highly pisses me off that malfeasance and or conspiracy is going on here, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Okay. Now, he initially told him 1 to 3 p.m. on February 13th, Richard Allen. He revised that time okay, so there you go. When he self-reported on the phone, now it never says who he called to self-report. Did he call the sheriff's department? Did he call local Delphi PD? Did he call the Indiana State Police or a 1-800 number, the FBI? That information is lost in the shuffle somewhere. But this sentence right here makes it clear. It says the conservation officer said Allen told him he was on the bridge trail between 1 and 3 on February 13th, but later revised that timeline to 1:30 to 3:30. They only had one conversation in a grocery store for 10 minutes. So in order for him to revise that at that point means the 1 to 3 time was called in ahead of time and someone handed Dan Doolin that tip. There was no chance encounter. Okay? He was handed that tip by higher ups and told to investigate it because that's what he was tasked with doing. Doolin said he did not find, I'm going to read this slow and listen to this bullshit. Mr. Doolin said he did not find any reason to not believe Allen's story that he had parked his car near County Road 300 North, that he had spotted 3 young women walking on a trail, that he was focused on his cell phone and reading a stock ticker during his walk to the bridge, and upon his arrival, watched fish in the water 60 feet below. Allen showed Doolin the phone he was carrying, and the officer wrote down its model and other identifying information, including the MED or whatever number, which, if you trace it back, ought to give you his correct name, not Whiteman, moron. Doolin told jurors he wrote up his report and submitted it to Unified Command. That includes Delphi Local, Carroll County Sheriff, ISP, and the FBI, as well as law enforcement officers from around the state. So after this interview with Richard Allen at the grocery store, he then wrote up an official report on it and submitted it to Unified Command, according to Doolin. I think that's important. His report remained unexamined in the file for more than 5 years. That's a contradiction of fucking terms to me, guys. Sorry, I'm cussing again. But how do you submit it to Unified Command, which includes all those agencies, and then in the very next sentence say, his report remained unexamined in the file for more than 5 years? Upon a call from investigators, oh, get this one, in fall of 2022, Doolin said he plugged Allen's name into the DNR database and discovered that upon renewal of his fishing license 6 weeks after the killing, Allen changed his height. He heightened. By the way, anybody knows me back in the old days on Sleuth Intuition on Discord, I made a big deal out of what I called him heightening, just like that Seinfeld episode with the little people. One of them heightened, and he got ostracized from the little people community. Allen changed the height on his permit from 5'4" to 5'6", which the officer told jurors he found odd. Now, granted, I won't hold that against Doolin, as that didn't come, he didn't continue to then investigate it. He took the report and turned it in. And in the fall of 2022, right before they arrest him, Liggett and the crew there called up Doolin and said, hey, put Allen's name into the DNR database. And here's a question. We have a unified command that unifies all these departments. We got all this shit that you're supposed to be plugging in all this information to that can then be succinct information. And then we have one state agency that could have solved the crime or at least showed a huge red flag from someone that was there on the day, changing their height on an official state document. Yet that shows up nowhere in any database except what? DNR? What? Okay, moving on. On October 13th, 2022, Liggett and former Delphi Police Chief Steve Mullen, who had
Let's do a quick stop here before continuing. Again, the big question here is who cleared Richard Allen? Who had the power to perform that clearance, let's say? That's a big mystery. I don't think we are gonna know that information for sure. They're gonna stay like in silence. No investigation is gonna be performed about that, sadly. But it's just crazy. To me, there are only two options here. Why do you clear someone? There are two options. It's because you did follow the tip, you followed the lead, but you didn't find any connection between the guy and the crime. So they were able to, I don't know, maybe using the cell phone information that was available at that time that Richard Allen was not near to the crime scene at the time of the murders, and because of that, someone ordered or gave the instruction to clear Richard Allen. This is one of the options, which is bad, because if law enforcement had information at the time that Richard Allen was not involved in the crime and they cleared the tip, so this is obviously very bad here. The other option is that law enforcement, they found that he may be implicated in the crime, involved, but for some reason they still decided to clear Richard Allen. That's equally bad. And the question here again is, if they found something connecting Richard Allen to the crime, why are you going to clear that guy at the time? So that opens the door to multiple conspiracy theories. You can say it's because law enforcement is protecting someone, and it was not something that would play well for them if they decided to follow or not to clear Richard Allen. I don't know if you understand. In both cases, it's equally bad. There are only two options. He was innocent, or they found that he was not involved in the crime, and for some reason they marked, and for that reason they marked cleared. And the other one is he was involved, but they decided to clear him anyways. So I'm gonna continue with Farmer's video, but before doing that, I'm just gonna come to the chat to say hello, guys. So we have Simdal again. Thank you for coming back, Simdal. After our electrical issue, you're here again. Toffer also is back. Thank you for coming back. And sorry, guy, again, it was out of my control. Rebecca is here. How are you, Rebecca? Judge Jessica, how are you, Judge Jessica? Nice to have you here. Also, she says liked. So yeah, please guys, hit the like and subscribe if you're not. Shay Watson is back. Thank you, Shay, for being here again. Luis Cuevas, happy to have you here, Luis. Mar, hello Mar, how are you? So glad you're here. I know you were watching the replay of the previous video, but now you're here live with us. So that's really cute, really cool. Organic nature. Richard Allen was not cleared, and Mr. Whiteman was. Figure that out. But this is not an explanation for the whole situation. If Mr. Whiteman was cleared, it means that law enforcement, they didn't follow the lead. They didn't do a proper investigation about that tip. It's equally bad. That confusion with the name of Richard Allen and the Whiteman part of the name, it doesn't explain why he was cleared. It's related, but it's not. It's a separate thing. It doesn't explain the problem. No, according to Shay, no matter what name it was, he was still cleared. What changed exactly? You just said the same thing I said with different words. Exactly. That's the idea. Thank you, Shay. It seems Richard Allen is about the only person in the area not connected to everybody else. Yeah, it's really interesting. No one noticed that he was Bridge guy if he was. Shane, it was tip 36. No, it was tip 74 according to my information. By the way, thank you. Hello, Shane. Happy to have you here as usual. We don't know. We don't know was cleared physically wrote or was it electronically done. I think it was physically wrote, and that's part of the streaming that and the research that Farmer did, and that's why we are playing his video, because he has a very good points about this whole situation. Most importantly, we don't know what date it was cleared. Yeah, the whole situation is a mess. You're right. Jessica says, if you find a guy who was walking the trails that day, you gotta look into him, of course. Who cares if he was there 10, 5? Of course, you have to look at everyone. Exactly. And the name, it doesn't matter if it was Richard Allen or Richard Whiteman Allen, you have to look into that. So the explanation that they didn't follow the lead properly because the name was not written properly or correctly, I'm not buying that at all. Who filled out the initial document? It was Dan Doolin. He was the one who contacted or who met Richard Allen at the grocery store. So he was the one who filled that lead sheet, let's say. Coincidence. If they were making mistakes after tip 70, imagine all the other mistakes made and before, not only at tip 74, before this tip 74. And we already know that that a lot of interviews that were videotaped during the first 72 hours, a very critical moment or timing of the investigation were lost. So this was a mess since the beginning, of course. Shane, Cryptex made a good point earlier in our chat. If that car was only modeled in the state, why was it not investigated? Yeah. How can you take 5 years to find the owner of the one single car with that type of characteristics? Some things that just don't add up. And again, law enforcement, they never showed a picture of that car to help the public to give proper tips about the owner of the car. Why? They decided to put two sketches, the old bridge guy sketch, the young bridge guy sketch, which was just creating confusion here, but they didn't put or they didn't show a still image of that car or the video of that car passing at the time. So I don't understand that strategy at all. Jessica, there is a man in Delphi with the name Richard Whiteman. He was Westfall's old landlord. What a small world. Yeah, it is. How do you clear someone who doesn't exist? Exactly. You cannot. You have to find who was the guy. Jaime. Hello, Jaime. Where are you from, Jaime? You sound Colombian because of your name. I like to see good people, new people in the chat. Remember, the only rule is don't be a troll. So if you are a troll, my moderators are gonna take care of you. So you're a troll, you're gonna be slapped in your head. So Simdal with a Ouija board. Yeah, good point. Okay, so let's continue with Farmer's video here. I'm gonna come back to you guys in some minutes.
Retired to become chief investigator for the Carroll County prosecutor, called Allen into Delphi Police Headquarters for an interview, ask him of his Miranda rights, whatever that sentence means by this horrible Fox writing, to remain silent and have an attorney present during questioning, showed him a photograph of Bridge Guy, and told Allen he was a suspect in the girls' murder. I'm not going to go on with this because it goes beyond the scope of what I wanted to talk about today. Again, I believe Richard Allen's guilty of murder. Guilty of, okay, if he didn't murder them, he led them to their deaths, knowing what was going to happen. And you know how I feel about that. You're guilty of murder. Same damn crime. So let me get back to StreamYard here. Let me put my fat head back on the screen. Hang on. I'm all worked up now. Let me get these dang comments up here. Where'd they go? Get out of the way, Kurt Mungle. Oh. All right, here we go. Comments. Oh, you guys have been commenting a little. Here we go. Okay, now I can. Now I'm with my people. Miranda says hello to Junior. I'm going to go through every one of them. There's not that many, so we're going to really soak over the. Richard Allen is still guilty. Miranda, I totally agree. I totally agree. But let me just say, with that in mind, Miranda, and just ponder this point for a moment. Isn't the whole idea of solving a murder to get and glean and gain and really soak in, not even glean, but to soak in information from that situation to prevent something like this happening again in the future? I mean, because I contend that something did happen here. Somebody screwed the pooch, is what we used to say back in the day. Now, Dan Doolin started, and I don't mind using his name. I'm not going to use initials with a publicly paid official who the public trust is dependent on this guy. And in my opinion, when you say in the trial, after all we know that he saw nothing suspicious about Richard Allen, paraphrasing, not a quote. Okay, anyways, Doolin started with the RA tip 2 full days after RA self-reported being on the bridge that day and possibly at the same time as the girls. Here's my question. How many 5'4" white men in similar clothing self-reported being on that being on that stupid bridge along with Richard Allen that day were there? In other words, to listen to Doolin talk about it, or even why pass Doolin that tip? I mean, how many middle-aged men that are short, we can say it, in the clothes described at the exact time, who had time off of work from the community, well, how many of those people were like Richard Allen and self-reported? You guys see where I'm going with this, or where I'm trying to go? Because I'm thinking zero. Yet, wouldn't that be like your hottest? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. We don't know what there are 14,000 tips, right? I get that. But wouldn't one of the hottest tips be from the singular male that fits the description by the 3 minor witnesses and then self-reports and corroborates seeing those 3 minor witnesses become a bit more important? Am I out of line here? Allen refused to meet at the station or his house. Allen denied this statement. They met at a grocery store parking lot. That's where they changed the time from 1 to 3 to 1:30 to 3:30. Why? Why change the time? Maybe it was an honest mistake. I don't think it helped Richard Allen. It just helped seal his own fate because it made him look even more guilty. So now on top of this, Dan Doolin has to go back and change the time to 1:30 from the original report. And then how long later was he made aware that Hoosier Harvest Store Video at 1:27 picked up Allen's goddamn car and still stood there next to Carter for the presser. La-di-da-di-da. Is this hitting home with anyone? Am I just on a rat's wheel that keeps coming back? Because I know I've talked about Doolin before, but I want to know who cleared that tip. I think it's past Doolin. How can Doolin clear his own tip? And if he did that, well, why didn't that come out? And who has? I even tried to look up who has the authority to.
Yeah, exactly. That is the $1 million question here. Who cleared Richard Allen and why? So those are the two big questions here. Because again, the one who had the power to clear Richard Allen, he did it because either they were not able to find any connection of Richard Allen with the crime. That's one of the options. Or the other one, they found something, they believed he was the guy, or at least that he was potentially involved, but they decided to clear him anyways. And why do you clear someone who is actually involved in the crime? Why is the explanation? What is the explanation for that? So that's why people talk here about corruption. And that's why we have a lot of different ideas or hypotheses different to the official narrative presented by law enforcement. So the case is just a mess. We know that. And yeah, I'm with Farmer here. So who did the clearance? Who cleared Richard Allen? And the other question is why. The clerical error is just I'm not gonna buy that stupid explanation. There's no way that was a clerical error. That was made on purpose, and the question is why. So coming back to you guys here, Shane, Crip, you know my stance on his guilt, but the investigation was bad. Yeah, it was crap. Bad is a good word. Bad is a very nice word for that investigation. It was trash. It was crap. It was unacceptable. Remember, they didn't test the hair in Abby's hand until 3 days before trial. Lots of bad policing. I think they tested the hair, but they did the comparison with some of the samples 3 days before trial. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you're right, it's even worse. You're making fun of Jaime. Why? It's a nice name in Spanish. So, Jaime, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, because in Spanish we say Jaime, and I don't think it's an American name, right? My mom wanted to spell Jamie differently. I'm a female with no Spanish heritage. Okay, sorry. So you are Jamie, not Jaime. Okay, sorry for that, because in Colombia we have Jaimes. Shane, I know, man, it's head fuck. Yeah, I agree. Jaime could be French. No, it's really Spanish. Judge Jessica, Dan Doolin's original Word document was in evidence. I hope someone gets it on their USB. I hope, because at one point, the defense, they requested to preserve some evidence here I don't know if that was part of the request to preserve the Word document or the 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 sheet that was filled by Dan Doolin. I hope so. It would be like another disaster if that evidence is destroyed. Luis Cuevas, the investigation, in my opinion, was led by the FBI. I don't know. I think there were multiple agencies at the time. You mean the leaders were the FBI guys? I don't know. A lot of ego in that situation. So imagine Holman wanting to be the leader and having the FBI big guys right next to him. So he wouldn't be happy about it. So maybe that's part of the whole situation that led the FBI to be out of the case. I don't know. Being 5'4" is a crime in itself. You're bad, Simdal, come on. Shane, Jots, anything to see that? I don't understand your question. Finn, I wonder if maybe the killer didn't self-report. Yes, I know, because you're convinced or you believe that Richard Allen is not the killer or is not involved. So I understand your comment here. Hey guys, you have to explain me that joke about wrong. I think it's related to Elvis Fields, right? But I'm not sure. I need an explanation because I'm just lost in the whole private. It's not a private joke, but I don't understand the joke. I don't know what's the origin of that joke. I see that everywhere in criminality and Twitter. Luis Cuevas. Luis Cuevas, she believes that the killer did self-report. Okay. Digital again. Hey, Digital is back. Thank you, Digital. If most observers on both sides agree the investigation was screwed up almost every way possible, how can the promotions and praise heaped on them explained? Yeah, a very good point, as usual, Digital. I don't understand. Instead of being taken accountable for their actions, for the bad investigations, they were promoted. Doc Carter retired with a medal on his chest. That's the way, sadly. Okay, Jaime. Jaime says gem. Gem means I like in French. Actually, it's I love. It's not I like, it's I love. Although I haven't taken French in 25 years. Survivalist Amber and family. I really don't think Allen did it. Luis Cuevas says Richard Allen was convicted. Finn. Luis, that's some bad logic. That discounts that there ever wrongful convictions, and we know that there are many. We know what's the point of view of Finn. He's clear. Only German and English stock. French is so exotic for my brain. Digital. They got very lucky. It's a miracle a case is solved after 7 years without DNA. But if Allen kept his mouth shut, he wouldn't be in jail today. So they got lucky. But I don't think we know the whole story. I think there are other actors here, and I don't know if Richard Allen was the actual killer or not, or he was just only participating in some way. leading the girls to the clients, for example, or maybe he was part also of the physical crime with, let's say, Tony Klein, or if he was just giving, communicating with the clients to help with the whole process, participating in the staging. There are multiple possibilities. I think we don't know the whole story. To me, the story is kind of clear until the bridge, until the sentence down the hill. But after that, I think no one knows, only the killers or the people involved in the murders. Simdal, Shane, yes, imagine if Richard Allen never reached out. This would stay cold for sure. Luis Cuevas, to say law enforcement didn't want the person that actually committed this crime convicted is wrong, in my opinion. Yeah, but if they did that significant or incredible or insane amount of mistakes, maybe the outcome of the investigation is not correct. So that's the problem. Shane, less than 1% of double child murders are committed by non-family members. It's usually parents. Very rare. Evansdale seems to be in a minority as well. Yeah. We had Rukus this week. He talked to us a little bit about Evansdale. So I hope he can continue working on that case to have or to help having some type of resolution for real. Digital is talking to Shane. Why promote them and price them? Yeah, 100%. I of Apophis, how are you? Richard Allen was cleared because his phone was not at the crime scene in the original geofence. That was I was saying, I think in the previous live, the one that was interrupted by the electrical issue. But yeah, that was one of my points. The cell phone of Richard Allen was available at the time when he went to talk with Dan Doolin. He gave his phone for inspection. Let's say they took the IDMA number. I believe that the geofencing data of that cell phone was investigated, and maybe that cell phone was not around the crime site or the crime scene. It doesn't mean that Richard Allen was not there, but maybe that's the way, or maybe that's why law enforcement cleared Richard Allen at the time. And remember that the defense requested to have the geofencing data during the process, and the judge didn't allow to have that data. So that's another fishy situation here. We don't know the answer. And in the same sense, when law enforcement or when some people here in this community says that the clients were not involved because they have an airtight alibi, and that alibi is related to his phones or to their phones being under operation at the client's house. So you should apply the same thing to Richard Allen. Let's say they were not able, or they are discarding the clients because the data of his phone shows that the client were not at the crime scene. And if that the same situation happened to Richard Allen, I expect to have the same type of logic. I know that there are a lot of variables around. I understand that, but I think you can imagine or you can understand what I'm saying. So to me, the geofencing data should be part of the process. It wasn't. If that data is showing that some people were around the time of the murders, that's a different scenario. we know that at least the phone of Ron Logan was pinging near to the bridge at, I think it was at 2:09 p.m. So yeah, it's a very good point. I agree with you. Other people's phones were, this was before the cover up. I agree with you. Finn, there are a lot of wrongful convictions. They are all available for review. Yeah, that's true. Judge Jessica, Elkhart has their own innocence project. They have so many wrongful convictions. Yeah. Rebecca, FBI started the investigation, but then Doug Carter kicked him out. Yep. Frictions, ego. Judge Jessica, I wonder if any of the owners of the 3 phones at the crime scene self-reported. Yeah, good question. Okay. Elvis Fields had a typo and wrote wrong instead of wrong. Okay. Where? Like in Facebook or what? Or where? No, understand. Shane, we will. Well, I never seen it Topher. I don't know what are you talking about with Topher. You all were wrong. Okay, now I got it. Thank you guys for the explanation. It was a joke in the knot and the unraveling. Let me go. Mimpingen, killers, not killer. That's my hypothesis. That's my hypothesis. The Klein angle is a suspect one, yeah. Suspicious one, yeah, for sure. Shane, I'd love to know, did Kieran, you mean Keegan maybe? Did Keegan get immunity for Delphi? They found out he's a liar and threw the book at him for the season. I might be wrong. That's my hypothesis. To me, he got immunity for the crime. He got some years, 43 years, but that's only for season. But I don't think he's gonna pay for it. He's gonna serve 43 years before bars in prison. So yeah, I think there was a negotiation. I think he got immunity, and according to the research I was doing in internet, that is something that is allowed in all of the states of USA. And this week I asked the same question to Rokus, and he confirmed that. And I know that he knows that type of legal stuff. So yeah, negotiations are allowed, and full immunity or anonymous immunity is allowed. So I don't discard that at all. I think it's very possible. Luis Cuevas, I personally believe Keegan's involvement complicated the investigation. I understand people believing Keegan is involved, but without evidence, it's just a theory. Yeah, at this point, it's a theory. But when you convict people, there are a lot of convictions that are made based only using circumstantial evidence. So in the case of Keegan Klein, everything is circumstantial. I think you can easily make a case against Keegan easily. And yes, it's going to be a theory. In the case of Richard Allen, to me, it's a theory because everything is circumstantial. It's not, and I know that circumstantial evidence is not a joke, and that's why I apply the same to the clients. It's not a joke. There's a lot of coincidences when we talk when we look at the client's angle. So it's a theory, but it's a theory. It's a heavy theory. It's a heavy like Keegan. Let's continue here, guys, in the chat before coming back to Farmer. James, I forgot your name again. Jaime. The geofence data should have been allowed in, of course, by default. My God. Anything somewhat exculpatory got toast, basically. Yeah. The FBI made mistakes too. Is that true? There is like this myth in the community that it was the FBI, the agency that is responsible for the loss or for the damage of the video that was extracted from the Marathon gas station. But to me, this is a rumor. I never saw an official statement or document that it was actually the FBI. If that is coming from Frank or Fig Solves or for this, to me is not a valid information. It's a rumor. So what's the source of that information? That it was the FBI, the agency responsible for the damage of that Marathon gas station video. Maybe it's just a narrative that is being pushed by some creators just to make look good Holman and Doc Carter. I don't know. I just want, maybe it was the FBI, but I want to know the source of that information. And other than that mistake that potentially was made by the FBI, what was the other mistake, Shane, if you can tell me? Luis Cuevas. Shane Considine, they completely got it wrong about Ron Logan, in my opinion. Why? Why do you think that Ron Logan is definitely not involved? I think it's also a potential actor here, especially when we know that his phone was pinging at the near to the bridge that day at the time of the murders, and they did lose the Marathon gas station. The Marathon gas station, I'm not sure. It's to me it's like an urban legend. I want to know if that's true or not. And that they got it wrong about Ron Logan. I wouldn't discard Ron Logan as one of the actors. And remember that when Keegan made those confessions to Rizzy Davis, he was involving Ron Logan. And we have a separate confession that Ron Logan made to this guy. What's the name? Jesse James? I don't know. In 2017. And he confessed to him, allegedly. And in the Ricky Davis confession, there's a reference to the box cutter in 2017, in June 2017. So to me, I wouldn't discard Ron Logan as one of the potential actors here. And to me, that's not a mistake from the FBI. Rana Boomer, I think it's the first time I see you here. A lot of new people tonight. Good. The internet, we only had the legacy media informing the public what the state was keeping for convicting evidence. Now we know, learning lots of cover-ups, in my opinion. Of course, we have more tools to identify those cover-ups, as you call it. Luis Cuevas, the FBI went nationwide instead of local. That was a mistake. Well, I'm not sure if it was a mistake. At the time, we were talking about potential suspects that were driving trucks. I think there's a big facility, the packaging, I forgot the packaging facility there, where there's a lot of people that is moving around, coming from other states and then leaving the state. So to say that that was a mistake, I'm not sure. Luis Cuevas. Doc Carter said that he wished they slowed down and didn't let it get so crazy. Well, I don't think Doc Carter and Holman are the brightest guys in the room. If Keegan Klein was involved, Veronica, hi Veronica, I think prosecution would brought it up, especially because their evidence was weak, but the timing is suspicious. Not necessarily, especially if they did a negotiation with Keegan. That's why they didn't bring up the subject to the table, because if there was a negotiation, they wouldn't be able to bring it into the table. You know what I mean? So that's my theory. Simdal. The Dan Doolin report could be a parallel construction to hide a deal with Klein. 100%. 100%, Simdal. This is the sentence of the night. So the troll says, congratulations, Simdal, for that comment. And me too. I think that is very possible. That is a very good explanation. Shane Considine. I'm no cop, but once I seen the area where trails are, it wasn't an out-of-towner. Yeah, that could be right. I understand your point. So damage, yeah, corrupted. I think the hard drive was corrupted. The killer knew the area, yeah. But the killer knowing the area doesn't mean that the killer has to live in that area. It could be someone just working in the packaging facility. I forgot the packaging facility name, for 6 months, and someone that would be able to know the area, but maybe he left. That potentially, that was a scenario that was considered at the time. So it's not crazy, in my opinion, that was part of the strategy of the FBI. FBI. Shane, Ron Logan's PCA was official statement, and that was a ludicrous. Why do you say that, Shane? To be honest, I cannot remember who said it, Cryptex. I known it for years. Exactly. To me, it's like an urban legend. It's an urban legend. I'm still confused about Richard Allen's arrival being 127. I thought that's when he left. Yeah, the confusion is gonna be there like for a while, I think, because we don't know if that was a mistake or not a mistake, but something that was made on purpose by Dan Doolin, or that was a lie from Richard Allen when he was changing the times. But anyways, I think we have the car on video, so I think the timeline is kind of clear to me. I know that a lot of you disagree here, but the timeline to me looks clear until the bridge. After the bridge, I don't think we don't know. I don't think we know anything. To me, after the bridge is like a black hole here. Just my opinion. Eye of Apophis. The state, not the FBI, pretends other phones were not at the crime scene during their own false timeline and still claimed a lone wolf theory. Yeah, to me, the lone wolf theory is just unlikely. And you have a good point. Again, the geofencing data being excluded from this process is something that I just cannot understand, and that brings a lot of questions. I don't know. Digital. I don't understand how, if Ron has his phone and was tracked around his property, why he was not tracked to the fish store. Yeah, good point, Digital. Good point. And why is that not a nexus? I don't understand. So the victims were found at his property. The phone was pinging near to the crime scene or to the bridge that day, and there's no nexus, and his name couldn't be even named during the process. I don't get it. Shane, read the Ron Logan PCA with what we know now. The FBI lady that wrote it's a traffic cop in Tulsa. She lied in it. I'm gonna read it again. My memory is maybe not that bad, that good tonight. We should do a recap of Ron's PCA and Keegan's interview. Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, Shane. I accept that there's a lot of information here, and I don't have the PCA of Ron Logan in my mind right away. So maybe you're right. Simdal, but he was continuing doing crimes, goddess, poorly monitored. Yeah, or not monitored at all. If you are talking about Keegan, I don't know. Who are you talking about? I don't know if she's a traffic cop. Bad joke. Okay. Bad joke by Shane. Veronica, they had Ron's receipts from the store. I believe caught on camera too. Yeah, but they have also his phone pinging at 2:09 p.m. near to the bridge. So I'm gonna come back to Farmer's video for a while and see you in a couple of minutes, guys, again. Farmer's video is gonna stop in like 10 minutes. It's not gonna be long. The audio okay, Mar? You said there's no audio. Let me know, guys, if there's audio or not. Sorry. Can you hear me? Is only farmer's video, or is it's me, or is both? Can you hear when I talk, or not at all? Let me know, guys, here in the chat. We can hear you, not farmer. So farmer is gonna be the next time. I'm gonna continue alone because tonight we had electrical issues, interruption of the first streaming, and now we are having audio issues. It's not my night tonight, guys, so sorry for that. So but I think we understand the whole point of farmer, which is, I think, the same point we have, the same questions. Who cleared Richard Allen? Why was he cleared? What was the motivation behind that? He doesn't buy the clerical error stuff. Why was Dan Dooling remaining silent over years, especially when he was present in the press conference of 2019? So I think it's the big questions we all have here. So I'm gonna come back to the chat, maybe to read the last comments there, and I think it's gonna be fine for tonight, guys. Let's see. So Veronica, they had Ron's receipts from the store. Oh, okay, we already read that. Digital, but this his phone show he went there? That's what I wanna know. Genre Boomer, True Crime Jesus presents alternative theories, scary videos, in my honest opinion. Very powerful videos, very powerful, very intense videos. He is very talented. I talked to him by email recently. He's very focused on, I think it's Robert Landford Academy. There's an academy here in a military academy here in Canada, where there was a lot of abuse to some young men that were serving the military service, and some of them died. So he's being very critical about that whole situation. And now the channel he has is just about that military academy. He's not doing any more videos about Delphi. But yeah, very talented guy, very nice, very powerful videos, very intense videos, artistic videos. I really loved True Crime Jesus. Veronica, digital, that's another thing I'm confused about. I think his phone pinged around 5, but not sure. So Veronica's still confused about the Ron Logan cell phone data activity. Simdal, they can easily hijack his devices. There is no need to have him on ROM free. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, to be honest. I think the audio issue is already fixed. Digital. Maybe someone else had Ron's phone. Who knows, with the thorough investigation and hidden evidence. And that's my point when we talk about the clients. To me, there were other people operating their phones, and the clients were actually committing the crime with this guy, and other people were operating their phones, their registered phones. Because when you're gonna commit a crime, you're not gonna be that stupid to take your normal phone. You're gonna take a burner phone. So that's what I think. Goddess, I'm doing like 29 things at once. Lol. I only heard Cryptex say he couldn't be brought up at trial, and I thought he meant Keegan Klein. Well, both of them, the clients and Ron Logan. Yeah, but I was talking about Ron Logan, that even his name couldn't be pronounced during the trial. They had to use the wording, the owner the property owner, not Ron Logan. Exactly, that's my point. They didn't have to have their personal phones if they had burners. Exactly. So yeah, got this. They left the phones home, which is why account was logged in to another device, which was never found. I agree. Australia is present from the Theory 21. Did the defense attorneys withhold making a nexus to Ron Logan because Ron Logan's attorney was from the same firm? This would explain Kathy's reluctance to sign a contract with those affiliated with. Very interesting point. And I think it applies to the clients as well. It is me, or is Kathy Shank's presence, participation odd? Yes, super odd, of course. She's a pawn in this case. She was used by Nick and Holman. Obviously, that's no. Monday, it was a strong discovery. There would be no questions. Digital. Julian Powell had a tech repair shop very close to Keegan Klein's house, and he could set phones to show wrong locations. Maybe, but showing wrong locations is different to having the phones under operation. So it's not the same thing. So, okay, I understand what you mean. That even if they were operating the devices at the bridge or near to the crime scene, the information was showing that the phones were in another location. I understand your point. I don't know if that was the case, but it's a good point. Okay. Boomer, I'm so glad to hear that you are familiar with True Crime Jesus. I love his stuff, very frightening. Nonetheless, I love him. Yeah, we have a nice, I don't know if I can call it relationship, but we communicate from time to time, and he's very nice. And well, we talk about stuff by email. So he's nice. Mar, I enjoyed their video. I think all of us enjoyed the videos. And we know what happened with the captain, but the captain's videos were awesome. To me, the captain and True Crime Jesus were the best creators here. It's very sad what happened with the captain, but we cannot say that his videos were not great. And the same applies to True Crime Jesus. From the Theory 21, the judge gave them the opportunity to put forward a nexus, that which they failed to do. Yeah. It was super embarrassing. I agree with you, Veronica. This investigation was just crap. Do you think, guys, that sometimes we are like just parrots here, like repeating the same thing, or because today, let's say, we are not, I don't know, supplying or providing new information, but we still like to be here talking about this? It's because we constructed a community and it's cool to meet together and to talk about the case, or is because it is important to keep asking questions even if there are the same questions, or because when we talk here in these spaces, the conversations are maybe a way to figure out things. I would like to think that that's the case. And anyway, again, just this case is just fascinating. I think I'm not gonna stop doing videos about Delphi. I know that some people says the case is closed. Why are you still talking about this? But to me, there are a lot of unanswered questions, and this space is for that, to discuss with you guys, with other creators, to try to figure some stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff to dig into. I don't know, guys. What do you think about that? Let's continue here. The investigation was so bad, I don't know how to look at the timeline. Yeah, there are a lot of holes in the timeline. I agree. There are holes. Part 2, I didn't know what's catching up. Hello, Candy. How are you? You look like a ninja. Are you a ninja? The captain? No comments, Luis. Sorry, but no comments about your comment. He killed his wife and himself, sadly. I disagree in both of your statements here. Polite and integrity, I disagree. But I respect your opinion. I just disagree. Or at least he wasn't polite with me. And integrity is questionable. We know that some creator deleted everything here, and some creator was working very close to law enforcement, and that is a way to have a bias in your mind. Your investigation is not going to be neutral. Your research is going to be biased. You're going to push some narratives. You're going to be blind about other angles. You're not going to accept that some things like the client's angle is still a possibility. So, yeah. Sorry, I disagree. Veronica, now that we have some evidence, I want to study for the trial what a do-over. It's not to discredit him for his opinion. It's because he's too close to law enforcement. And that is a way to be biased in your research and in your investigation. His opinion, everybody here is very opinionated. I have my opinions. Everybody, every creator, every single viewer has their opinions. It's what is behind the opinions. As the murder sheet says about him, remember, he's someone too tends to jump into conclusions. So, anyways. Are his videos still accessible? You mean True Crime Jesus or who? Veronica, Digital, there were more than just that amount that day. There were so many groups. The park was busy that day. Thumbs up, Cryptex. Hey guys, hit the like, please. I don't know how many likes do we have, but come on. Fishy is still here. How are you, Fishy? Simdal, not that long ago. Not sure if the channel is still up. Still talking about True Crime Jesus, guys? I don't know. Veronica, Slot makes me laugh. We mainly disagree but have the same questions. Yeah, I think so. And I think I'm like in the same line of thinking of Slot Intuition at this time. Not before, maybe not in the future, but today I think our theories are very similar. Okay, guys, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks to the interruption, or to the electrical interruption, we did 2 shows tonight. Okay, let's come in here. Cryptex, are we just being repetitive? Not a bad thing to be. It's how those of us who are new learn who, what, and where we need to direct our attention and why. Yeah, thank you for that. Good point. Thank you, Simdal. So have a good night, guys. See you maybe, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. Why not? Let's keep the pace. Thank you, Mar. This is for Mar. A heart. I did a bad heart, but you know. And remember, channels rules. Don't be a troll. See you guys. Bye-bye.